What's good, everybody? In my video today, we're doing a final exam review for some important topics and problems you'll see. So problem number one, they want us to find f of -1 plus g of 2, but they gave us three functions. So number one, let's not worry about h of x. Let's just cross this out. And there's two ways that we could solve this. So what we can do is make one huge equation, or we could separate these two, f of -1 and g of 2, and then add them. But once we do this, guys, the most important thing is to follow order of operations. So the order in which we add and subtract must follow left to right, or else we're gonna get it wrong. So we have -25 plus 4 plus 10 minus 11. Right here, we're gonna get, let's see, -21 plus 10 minus 11. We're going to get -11 minus 11. Final answer is -22. Now, when we look at these, right, this will give us a -25 once we simplify f of -1. And once we do the same here, we should get, let's see, 4, 10, that's 14. We should get +3. So when we combine -25 and +3, we're going to get a -22, just in case you didn't want to add it all in one step. So in problem two now, guys, we're looking at a quadratic equation, and the first thing we need to notice is this negative sign right here. So this means that our graph is going to open down. Now, when we're talking about the axis of symmetry, guys, just remember that we're going to do x is equal to -b, or the opposite of b, divided by 2a. And in our quadratic equation, we know that it follows this format or equation right here, where a is -1, b is -6, and c is -5. So once we fill this information in, we are going to get x is equal to positive, let's see, minus negative, x is equal to -3. So when we talk about the axis of symmetry, guys, just remember that where x is equal to -3, this is going to split our graph in half. And the reason why this is important is so that we can find exactly what the vertex is. And the way that we do that is by plugging in this x into the equation and figuring out what y is equal to. So let's do that right now. So we have y is equal to the opposite of -3 squared minus 6 times -3 minus 5. And this is what we're going to get as a result. We're going to get y is equal to +4. Now, what does this point mean, or this answer? This answer means that the point -3, 4, this is going to be our vertex. So we're going to go to -3, go up 4, and this point right here is going to represent the highest point on my graph. Now, the next thing that we want to do, guys, is to go ahead and figure out what are our zero solutions to the problem. And the way that we do that is by factoring. And this can seem hard, but the key trick is trying to factor out a -1. Once we factor out -1, our leading term becomes positive, just like the other two terms, and this is an easier problem to now factor. All right, so we have -1, we have x plus 5 times x plus 1, right? We're setting everything equal to 0. We know -1 is not equal to 0, so we throw that problem out. X plus 5 is equal to 0, so x is equal to -5. X plus 1 is equal to 0, so now we have x is equal to -1. Here are our two zeros. So we have -1, 0, and we have -5, 0. So now we have 3 points for us to create our parabola. And let's fill this in. So -5 comma -1. And we're now going to draw our parabola. So our graph should look something like this. And then now for the last part of this problem, we're talking about intervals of increasing and decreasing. And just remember that we normally use the axis of symmetry as a reference point for this problem. So when we look at the graph now, we notice that these y-intercepts are going to be increasing once x is less than -3. And I'm going to show you guys exactly what I mean. So once x is anything less than -3, right? We're coming from -10, -5. We're coming all the way up. And if you notice, as we follow the graph line, the y's become positive. Now, when x becomes larger than -3 and we're following the graph line towards the positive side of the x's are now decreasing. So for our decreasing answer, we will put x is greater than -3. So please, guys, remember these key concepts and tips when we're graphing parabolas. If you like this video so far, smash the like button for us. Let's go on to the next problem. Moving on to the next problem, guys, and we're focusing on graphing and shading inequalities and equations. So in this problem, they want us to come up with the inequality to match the graph. So the first thing we're going to do is pay attention to what we call the y-intercept. So in this problem, the y-intercept should be probably like a positive number, right? So that means off rip, because of this negative y-intercept, I could erase or eliminate C. Now, the second thing that I notice is that this is a negative slope, right? That's a negative slope. A positive slope would look something like this. That's how the line would look. So as a result, I could now eliminate B. I mean, not B. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, B. Now we're down to A and D. And what's going to let us know whether it's right or wrong is the area in which they shade in, right? So I know 0, 0 is included. Let's plug that in. So when we plug 0 in here, we're going to say, hey, 0 is less than or equal to -2 times 0 plus 1. So 0 is less than or equal to 1. That is true. So let's just put a star next to this because we would shade this side. Now in our second example, let's see what we get. So when I plug in 0, 0, I'm going to have 0 is greater than or equal to -1/2 times 0 plus 1. So what we're saying is 0 is greater than or equal to +1. We know that is false. So this inequality, we would have to shade on the opposite side for it to be true. So as a result, our answer is A. All right. And before we move over to problem number 2, smash the like button if this video was helpful at all for you guys. Trying to put out the best videos for you guys. All right. So in problem number 2, they want us to graph this equation. So rule number 1, we want to start off with that y-intercept, -2. All right. So we're going to be down here. And just remember that our rise over run is positive. Our slope is positive. And if you forget, it's in the same order. How much are we gonna rise? 3. So I go up 1, 2, 3, and then I'm gonna go over 4. Now a lot of students don't know which way to go, left or right. Got a trick for you. Go both ways. So let's go to the right first. 1, 2, 3, 4. So here goes my second point. And if I'm confused and I go to the left, here goes my third point. Now remember, this is a negative slope, this is a positive slope. So if I connect these two lines, this is going to be a negative slope, and that's not what we want. So let's cross that out. We want to connect these two dots because this is what's going to give us a positive slope. All right. So if you ever get confused, guys, after you do your rise, just do it both ways. That's why I like to teach it for those students who get confused. Now let's go over to the last 2 problems of today. So I miscounted, guys. Last problem of the day. We're talking about absolute value, and we know that absolute value or the equations, right? It can't be negative. But just make sure that you at least double check this because this is a trick. First step, we always want to isolate the absolute value. And before this is by itself, we have to divide by -4. We got to move that 4. Once we do, this is going to turn positive. So we have the absolute value of 2x plus 6 is equal to 8. Now that the absolute value is by itself, let's rewrite the equation without it. So 2x plus 6 is equal to 8. That's my equation number 1. And then equation number 2, just remember that 2x plus 6 will stay the same. However, 8 becomes negative. And now we solve like a regular equation. So once we do, we're going to have 2x is equal to -14. X is equal to -7. And then when we go back over to the original in the first absolute value equation, we're going to do the same thing. Subtract 6. 2x is equal to 2. Once we divide, we're going to get x is equal to +1. Really hope this video was helpful for you guys today. Smash the like button for us if it's helpful. Subscribe to our channel for more videos. And leave comments for future videos you guys would like to see on our channel. Algebra with Mr. Peters. Thank you guys so much for the support and the watches and likes. Thank you guys.